Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. We appreciate you joining during your lunch hour. We know you're very busy, so love to see you on here. So just quick Zoom reference. I'm sure you all know how to use Zoom, but just in case you don't, we have the unmute button here. So if you'd like to talk, please hit unmute and then introduce yourself when you're talking, just because we know who you are and where you're from. And if you're not talking, just keep this on mute, just so we don't have background noise. We also love to see you guys if you want to come on video. No pressure though. That's totally optional. Chat, so you can open and close the chat here. And then reactions. So there's some smiley faces. You can clap. You can do a thumbs up. We love reactions while we're presenting. So more than welcome. So once you open that chat, thank you, Rhonda. Yes, there's a clap. So if you open that chat button, you can chat, generally just chat to everyone and type your message in here. Everyone will see it. If you do only want to chat with me, so you have an anonymous question or something like that, you can choose host only here by clicking these three dots, and then I'll just ask your question anonymously. Okay, perfect. So Rhonda, I'll let you introduce what we're doing today.
Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us. This is the Wolf EMR user group. And as we discussed last month, we're going to have every other month a longer visit. So last month we had a wonderful presentation on paneling. And next month, we're looking forward to some more discussions. But for today, we're just going to have a quick touch point on the Wolf sunsetting and CII-CPAR update, just to keep you in the know for the community.
Perfect. Thank you. Oh, and I'll let you do the land acknowledgement too.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
And so we'd like to recognize that we are webcasting from many parts of Alberta today, and the province of Alberta is located in Treaty 6, Treaty 7, Treaty 8 territory, and it's traditional meeting ground and home for many Indigenous people. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And so this is us. We are your EMR user group co-leads. So we have Rhonda. So Rhonda has been Rhonda has been working with rural and urban PCNs for about 6 years now. She's been supporting the PMH initiatives. She also has a background in emergency medicine and northern medicine for over 20 years. Tons of experience. I'm so happy to have Rhonda on. It's so nice to have you as a co-host. So thank you for everything you do.
And I am sure everybody on this call knows Sarah Joy quite well and loves joining all the meetings. Just a great energy that you bring, especially with all these updates. Thank you so much. And Sarah Joy, you've been with the ACT team for almost 4 years. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, good memory.
Perfect.
Awesome.
But thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're really happy to have you here today.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rhonda. Okay, so without further ado, we'll get into some Wolf sunsetting updates. So if you have any questions at all, if there's any burning questions on your mind, throw them in the chat, come off mute, you can raise your hand, interrupt us at any time, but we will give you just some updates as to what we've kind of learned in the last month, anything we think that might be important for you to know. So these updates on this slide are a repeat from last month, but we thought they were important to repeat just in case you weren't there. So one update is that Dean Wheatley, who was the general manager for the Western and Atlantic regions for TELUS, is now no longer with TELUS. And so if you do have questions about Wolf sunsetting, or you'd like to get a demo with CHR, that's the collaborative health record that TELUS recently bought, you can email this email here, healthsales@telus.com. And if you have any urgent requests, you can always email me here. My email will be repeated at the end of the presentation, and I'll escalate your request up with the sales team. So any questions about that? And we do encourage you, just as Wolf sunsetting, getting a demo of CHR will be valuable, but we also encourage you to demo other EMRs. We don't advocate for a certain EMR, but we do tell you to, do your research and see the different options out there and kind of weigh what might work best for your team. Another update is there is a multi-stakeholder group. So that group includes the AMA, AHS, and TELUS. And so they're all working together to integrate CHR. So currently CHR cannot actually is not integrated with the Alberta healthcare system. And so it's currently unavailable to Alberta customers. But this group is working really hard to get CHR integrated so that it can be eventually used by Albertans. And so we'll bring you updates as that team progresses on that work. Right now, there aren't really any major updates, but we'll let you know as things progress.
And if any of you have had a CHR demonstration or anything, could you just put a heart or a thumbs up or anything, just so we know like how many people are actually experiencing CHR and looking at that?
Great idea.
That'd be great. Thank you.
And I know some people have had a demo because we've heard some things. They might just not be on this call, but
yeah.
Or if you're unable to find the annotate button, that might also be a problem because it can be hard to find sometimes. So you can also just give a thumbs up or something. Okay, perfect. So one other update, and this isn't really an update, we just wanted to specify that the Wolf sunset date is still December 2023. And I mean, that seems like a long ways away, but it is only 26 months away. So when you think about how long it takes to switch EMRs or do any kind of paperwork in the clinic, it's not a ton of time. I encourage you to check out other EMRs, figure out a plan for switching, starting to do those steps as soon as you can. And then something else that recently happened this week, and thank you to Rhonda for flagging this. So Rhonda got an email from one of the practice facilitators in Alberta. And so this practice facilitator got a message from one of the TELUS's sales team members saying that the Wolf sunset date would likely get pushed to December 2024. So there's a little bit of confusion about that, about whether that was actually happening or it was just speculative. So thankfully, Rhonda was able to forward the email to me. I was able to forward it on to one of our EMR consultants. And super quickly, it was all happened within the matter of an hour or so. Our EMR consultant was able to confirm that no, the sunset date is still December 2023. There's no plans to push it back or anything. And so that was a great example of how we were able to clarify something for one of our practice facilitators so that she wasn't confused. So all of that to say, if you are getting any mixed messages or anything like that, or you're confused about anything, email me and I'll try to find the answer for you so that you have the clear messaging that you should have. So.
And for any of the practice facilitators or IFs on the call today, if you have clinic managers that are on Wolf and they don't know what they want to do yet, and they haven't made that decision, please invite them to join this meeting. It is open to everybody that's on the Wolf system or not on the Wolf system that wants more information. And we are happy to have any of those questions or anything that's in the community that we're unsure about. Sarah Joy will definitely investigate it further because many clinics don't have time to do that. And she's more than happy to do that.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, any questions you have about it, just forward them on to me. I'll try my best to answer them. And great point, Rhonda. This is open to physicians and clinic managers as well. So we just want to make sure that everyone's informed. So yes, invite them.
And I just want to say, Sarah Joy, Tara did leave a message there in the chat. It looks like Edmonton North is going to be having a demo. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. That's perfect. Awesome. Yes, hopefully that happens for you soon. And Rhonda, I'll let you take it away from here.
Great. So what I was wondering is within the Wolf community, how many are transitioning to another EMR? Have you thought of that? If you're currently on Wolf, or maybe you're working with a clinic, are they thinking of transitioning or are they going to be waiting for CHR? And the other question is, if they are waiting, are they going to get started on CII or CPAR or are they holding off? What are you hearing in the field so that we can help and tailor these updates to give you a better pulse point when you're speaking with your clinics and your colleagues. I'm just going to give everybody a moment there because that was a lot. Feel free to come off mute, please.
Yeah, we definitely want to hear your stories because this is something that all of us will have to go through at some point, right? Being on Wolf. So if you have anything to share, that would be very helpful.
And from my own experience, I do have a Wolf clinic that did start the transition to getting on CII-CPAR while they're waiting for CHR to come into Alberta. So I do have one of those examples.
Oh, awesome.
All right.
Kara.
Yeah. Looks like Sally has a clinic on Wolf working towards CPAR, CII, and we'll transition later. That's perfect. Thank you so much. Sarah Joy, I think there's another one in there from Julie.
So Julie's awaiting CHR, hoping to wait for CIICPAR until we switch. That's awesome to hear, Julie. Yeah, because you can absolutely, and we encourage you to actually sign up for CIICPAR while you're waiting to switch, because when you switch, that new EMR will have to make sure you're still signed up for CIICPAR and do all the setup for you. So it'll just automatically happen when you switch. And Kara, did you have an experience to share? No? Okay, awesome. And Tracy has one clinic that moved from Wolf to Acuro. And how did that transition go, Tracy? Do you have anything to share about that?
I haven't heard. I've been supporting it kind of on the sidelines, but it'll be interesting I'm interested to see how the data transfer went. So when I know more, I will hopefully maybe next meeting I can report some findings there.
That would be awesome. Yeah, because you're right. The data transfer is usually the part that is a little iffy when you're switching. So yeah. Is anyone already on CIICPAR or has worked with clinics who've joined CIICPAR already? After this, we'll go into some stats about CIICPAR. We know that about 20% of clinics on Wolf are on CIICPAR, so there should be some people on this call who are. Oh, awesome. So Shayla, you have one clinic that's on CIICPAR. Awesome.
Great.
Yeah. And Nadia does too. Tracy worked. It does take a bit of time to sign up, so absolutely.
Convincing the physician.
Yeah.
They're not going to be inundated with a million e-notifications. They think that they're just going to be inundated. So
yes, and that's right. We have seen that's not the case at all. Yes, South Calgary Family Care Clinic. I actually used to work with that clinic. Yes. And hi, Teresa. Nice to see you. It's been a while.
And those of you that are working on it, if there's any common barrier that you've run into, please let us know. We'll help you there too. This community is strong with troubleshooting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. And actually, after the last meeting, it was cool to see we had a few people collaborate on some, I believe it was smart forms.
Yep.
And so, so if you have any questions about CIICPAR or transitioning to another EMR, this is kind of the space to start having those collaborative discussions. So if you have any questions about that, use the discussion board. We can get you hooked up with someone else who might have some answers or be able to help. So yeah.
Perfect. I think we're just going to keep this for each of our touch points. We'll make sure to see how's that transition going and where are we with CIICPAR and what you're hearing from the community. So this will be an ongoing slide, I think, for our touch points. Absolutely.
And we did get a really good question actually in the chat too. So the question is, what if they get CIICPAR and then switch to a non-compatible EMR? So an EMR that's not compatible with CIICPAR. So in that case, unfortunately, with that non-compatible EMR, they will no longer be hooked up to CIICPAR. And so that's because the EMR has to be able to send information to and receive information from the CIICPAR database or the CPAR database and NetCare. And so if it's not compatible, there's not going to be any information flow. So yeah, great question. Okay, so now we'll move into some CII-CPAR updates. So here is again that graph that shows you, and that's, sorry, I just got a follow-up question to that last question. So the question is, so then they are removed from CII-CPAR. So that's actually a really good question. I don't actually know. And I don't know, I see we have on Jill on the call. I don't know if she will know the answer, but that's a good question. I'll have to find out for you. So I don't know if you're just put on hold and then if one day that EMR does. Yes, Kara.
I have a question, and you'll see that I'm on mute and I'm on 2 different areas because I'm on my phone too, but just so I don't confuse you. But we had some discussion at our last meeting and about the conflict reports being quite long and time consuming for our staff doing them. Now, I myself, my clinics haven't signed up yet, but a lot of ours have. And there was some talk about Ponoka specifically, and I'm not sure if anyone on here is from there. They may answer this for me, but they're not removing any of those patients from those panels. So they're constantly showing up on the reports. Now, I'm just confused. And like we had discussions, I decided to ask. The whole point of signing up for CPAR would be to mitigate that. So if someone isn't participating or clinic chooses not to participate in that portion of it, it's totally their decision, like whatever works for them. But how does that impact the rest of the people that would be involved in that maze of patient care? So if you could answer that for me, that'd be lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good question. So you're right. It is up to the clinic. Now, it's interesting because the point of signing up for CII-CPAR is so you can work through those panel conflicts, right? So it's interesting that they're not unpaneling those patients, because you're right, that will affect other clinics. Say a clinic has that patient as an actual paneled patient, that patient will keep coming up on their list, right? So it does impact other clinics. And I don't know if there's a way of working through that, if that is your paneled patient, or if you just have to be aware that these patients are just going to keep popping up. I do know in the North Zone, there were 2 clinics that worked together. They were both on CPAR, and the panel managers worked together to ensure that the clinics were having those conversations between them to say, hey, this is actually our panel patient. Are you okay unpaneling them? And then the other clinic would have that discussion and they decide which clinic should actually have that patient paneled. So it might have to be a discussion between the clinics, but I don't know how comfortable they would be doing that. Yeah.
And you hit the nail on the head there, Sarah Joy, because what it is a change of process in a clinic. So as your clinic, Kara, you can create your own process. When we get a conflict report that comes in, we look at the patients, we confirm with our physician in-house that those are their patients, that we saw them within the last however many years you want to say is active. And then you would have a conversation with that patient either when they come in next, or you can phone them, right? So opportunistic or outreach, and determine, and that patient has the right to say yes or no. Now that patient could come back and say, I'd like to keep both because I go to this physician for this and I go to this physician for that. You then have a record of why they chose the way that they did, and now it's in your EMR. So now in-house, that's your process. Unfortunately, you're right. Extension to another clinic, you can't do anything, but you can document. Spoke with clinic manager at Ponoka. They confirmed that they're going to keep it on their panel. We're keeping on our panel. And that's where you're at for right now. That's the best you can do. Yeah.
That's good enough. And that's a great answer to have. And I'll definitely pass that along to the staff members that we're having just not knowing what to do. So
yeah,
thank you.
And I love, Rhonda, you brought up the patient too. So part of it is patient education, right? So if you're telling patients, hey, continuity is important. This is what we're doing, right? The importance of having one family physician, that could help prompt the patient to have that discussion with the other provider. I mean, not that we expect patients to tell other clinics to unpanel them, but that could be the way to go too. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. And on Jill, thank you for that specification or clarification about the Ponoka example. Yeah, that is a bit of a tricky one. And it might just take them a while to get through all of those patients. So yeah. Thank you, Kara. That was a great question.
Thank you, Kara.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah Joy, it's Teresa from South Calgary.
Hi.
One thing that we noticed is that a number of our patients that appeared to be multi-paneled, it was actually because they were being seen at a walk-in clinic that was actually verifying demographics. So then it appeared that they were actually verifying that there was a connection between the patient and the physician when really it was just a demographic check.
Oh, I see. So they were checking off that box.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. That's good to know. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll bring that back to our CII-CPAR team to see if they've heard of that before. Okay, perfect. Okay, so this slide, and keep coming with the questions if you have more. So this slide just shows you the latest numbers in terms of CII-CPAR participation. So we do have a new EMR that's conformed now, Epic. So that one's on there. Just one clinic participating right now. But to show you, they are working on other EMRs being conformed. And then we have our HealthQuest, Acuro, MedAccess, PS Suite, and then Wolf. And so actually across the board, there's about 20 to 21% of clinics participating in CII-CPAR across all of these EMRs, except for Epic, of course. But that is quite encouraging, and that just shows all of the progress that we've been making. And especially in terms of Wolf, I know we get a lot of questions about, should I join CII-CPAR if I'm going to be switching EMRs anyways? And the answer is yes, we already do have 20% of clinics who are participating in CII-CPAR. And the switch to another EMR, if it's one of these four, the CII-CPAR integration should happen automatically when they do make that switch. And so as we've said before, it's important just because then you can have your CII-CPAR processes in place when you do migrate to the new EMR. So you can start those right from the get-go, which is helpful. And I am seeing some things in the chat here. So Vanessa asked, doesn't the primary physician attachment have to be there as well, not just verified? So Jill, thank you for chiming in here.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. So yes, and Jill, you're totally right. So what they're probably doing is they're probably attaching the patient to the physician who saw them in the walk-in clinic. And then that physician appears to be their primary care physician. And so that's why they're flowing up to the CPAR panel report. So yeah, that walk-in clinic would have to find a different process. So maybe not put the physician in the primary care physician field, and then that would help solve that issue.
So I'm just going to stop there for a minute, Sarah Joy, because most clinics heard that if you are a walk-in clinic, 100%, you can't go on CII-CPAR. So what we're talking about are clinics that have that new locum or that new physician that are having walk-in hours, and they're attaching to build up there. That's where I think the confusion is.
I see. Okay.
Clinic is on CII-CPAR, but they're not using it. Yeah.
That's right. Yes. So walk-in. Yeah. And we do have clinics who do that walk-in, but they put walk-in, they have a walk-in physician that they attach patients to. So it's not a real physician. So that might help. Yeah. Yeah. And you're right, Tracy. A lot of clinics do have both. So we have Vika. While we are on CPAR, can we add some names to clinics who we can contact appropriately in regards to conflict reports when we are working through it? We as a team in Red Deer thought it would be great if we can add names and numbers. That way MOAs in clinics that are unaware why they're calling and what it's about have to tell us to call back and direct. So do you mean actually adding the names to the conflict report when it comes in and the contact numbers?
Oh, I would love that hyperlink to just be able to click and get that information.
That would be awesome. Absolutely.
It really would.
Yeah. So if I'm understanding correctly, Vika, yes, I'll bring that back to our team because I think that would be very, very helpful. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hi, Sarah. Sorry, no, I didn't mean to put it on a conflict report. I meant as if you are going to call my clinic, say Ebenezer Red Deer, because you have 3 people that have your doctor and my doctor signed to that patient. And when you call my clinic, MOAs may not, because there's such a change depending hiring back and forth. They may not be aware of what CII-CPAR is, and many times they haven't. And so you either leave your number to someone to call you back, which hasn't happened. I had 3 times a situation like that. No one called me back. And or you could say, hey, can I please speak to Vika, the support nurse of your clinic? And then finally you have my number, so I can go on Ebenezer EMR, and depending on our conversation with my doctors, I'm okay to detach them if you already confirmed with the patient, or vice versa, how we talk when they've been seen or if they've been moved. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know, Rhonda, if you have a good answer to that.
Yeah, it's a huge extension to reach out to every clinic within your footprint. And when we do look at those maps of where patients go to get care in Alberta, it would be pretty much having to list every single clinic within the province.
Yeah.
And that proves to be a bit difficult. Now, I obviously like the hyperlink where it comes right on the conflict report and you're not having to do that dig. And the best thing is for us to continue our education with our administrators when they are signing up for CII-CPAR and ensuring their staff are trained on that. So we do have some work to do. And I think that is a great point to bring up. And we will see if we can come up with a more concise answer for you next meeting in November.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. And Jennifer, actually in the chat, thank you. I forgot about that, Jennifer. That's a great. So Jennifer from Chinook PCN is saying they use a panel change form that is faxed or emailed to the clinic. And so that form says, this is the patient. Can you please change their status in your EMR? It's here. Actually, I'll pull it up for you to show you where it is. So it's on our website. And if you go to CIICPAR here and CIICPAR for primary care here, and under CPAR panel resources, this is where it's easiest to find. And right at the bottom here, there's this PCN panel change notification form. And we see that it is by Chinook PCN. So thank you for sharing that.
Fabulous.
Yes. And it is just a Word document. So you can see it says which doctor it is. There's a whole bunch of different things to fill out, but it's a fairly easy form to just fax and then, oh, that's a cool reaction, Rhonda. I've never seen that before, but yes.
Thank you, Angel, for putting that link in there. Yeah, please use that link that she just put. It's the same thing that Sarah Joy's walking through right now.
Perfect. Thank you, Angel. Yes, and Angel just let me know. So the CII-CPAR project lead from ACT is actually looking into whether or not we can get the clinic contact information on the conflict reports. So we'll update you with that if there's any progress made there, because yes, that would be very helpful.
And thank you, Jennifer, and everybody at Chinook. That's fabulous work. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yes, that's a very, very helpful tool. So thank you. Okay, perfect. So then we did break this down by zones. Unfortunately, we don't know how many wolf clinics there are in each zone, so we can't tell you the percentage of clinics in each zone participating. But hopefully you got that on the last slide, so that gives you a bit of an idea. But this gives you the number of clinics participating by zone. So we can see actually North Zone, who has less wolf clinics than both Edmonton and Calgary, actually has quite a few clinics. So they're actually ahead of, I believe, all of the other zones. Edmonton is a little slower, but they also have fewer wolf clinics. I think Calgary is a lot heavier on wolf clinics, so that also makes sense. But yeah, hopefully that gives you a better idea of what's going on in your own zone.
It looks great. It looks for wolf clinics on CIICPAR, that's great.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, and we've had lots of questions. Any other questions? You've had some great questions today, so thank you. And I know we are at 12:30, so if anyone does have to jump off, go ahead. The rest of this will be recorded, so we'll throw that up on YouTube for you.
Yeah, so great to see everybody today. Before you leave, we'll just tell you about the next meeting. Keep those questions coming. We are still going to be on for a few minutes. No problem.
Absolutely. So our next meeting is November 10th. It's a Wednesday. And so that will be one of our longer sessions. So 1 hour, 12 to 1 p.m. And it'll be about preventative screening. And so we're excited. We have Amanda coming. She's from which PCN is it? I know she's from Fort McMurray. I just can never remember what PCN.
It's Wood Buffalo, isn't it?
Wood Buffalo, that's right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So she's from Wood Buffalo PCN. So her PCN has gone through some tough times. They had some flooding. They've been through COVID, which we've all been through as well. And she does work with some smaller clinics, so a lot of one physician clinics. So those are all barriers, right, to preventative screening, but she'll talk a little bit about how they've overcome those because they've actually been able to keep their screening rates quite high. So we'll learn lots from her. We'll have a discussion with about all of the tips and tricks that she's learned. So I think that will be really valuable. And then we'll do another meeting on Wednesday, December 8th. That'll be another short update meeting, just like this one today. So that'll be 12 to 12:30. And then we'll take a break for Christmas and we'll come back or the winter holidays, whatever you're doing during that time. And then we'll come back in January and we'll pick up then again with a new topic that we'll send out in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
Yeah. And go ahead, Rhonda.
That's fantastic. And I see everybody's still on the call, so this is great. If you are hearing anything out and about differences in CHR, in Wolf, in CPAR, needing to know more about PIA and how that's going to impact CPAR and changing EMRs, please reach out to Sarah Joy anytime. She can navigate those and get you a very concise response that you can share with your team. So please reach out anytime.
Yeah, and I'll throw my email address just in the chat here so you can get a hold of me there. So yes, please reach out anytime. We have lots of resources. Thanks, Teresa. You have a good day too. We have lots of resources at ACT and different contacts in that, so we'll get you hooked up with who you need. Thank you so much, Amanda.
Thanks, Amanda. Yeah, and if you have ideas for things that you would like to hear about in the new year, please let us know. We can talk about CPAR and Wolf all day long. So let us know what you want to hear.
Yes, absolutely. And then just for next meeting, if you're curious, if you're not sure what preventative screening is, like you don't have clinics who've gotten started with that, I encourage you to go to our website and go to the Patient's Medical Home tab. Thank you, Nadia. Thanks, Jennifer. And go to the Organized Evidence-Based Care section. And if you want to read a little bit, there's these 2 pages here. So Alberta Screening and Prevention Program, and then Alberta Screening and Prevention Plus, which actually builds on this first one. And I'll show you, this is what the pages look like. So there's not a ton of reading. You don't need to go click into all the links unless you really want to, but it'll just give you a quick overview of what ASAP and ASAP Plus is. So that'll be good preparation for our next meeting.
Thanks, Tara.
Thanks, Tara. Okay, and as always, don't forget to post on our discussion board. That's kind of what connects us all while we're not in the meetings. So if you're wanting to connect with someone outside of the meetings, you can post on the discussion board. We'll try to connect you with someone. If you have a good tip or trick to share, if you have any experiences to share, that's the place to do it. So yeah, and if you have any troubles getting to the discussion board or people that would like to join this group, please contact networks@albertadoctors.org. We have a lovely team of ladies. We have Shelley and Leanne who can help you with that. And also, if you're missing any of the invites for the future Wolf meetings, that's also the email to contact.
Thank you, everybody. And again, please have any of your clinics join, especially if they need to know more about the Wolf sunsetting. They're more than
absolutely. Thanks, Vika. Thanks, Angel.
Thanks, Angel. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Vanessa.
Thanks, Vanessa.
Oh, there's so many new reactions.
Oh, hello. I love
Thanks,
it.
Shayla. Thanks, Julie.